This is a game that we'd all been waiting for. We'd all been waiting to see what happened when USC, as in South Carolina, took on LSU to see where both of these teams stood in the SEC. LSU had started the season off 20-0. South Carolina was at 18-1, with their one loss being at UCLA. But LSU, who had lost 16 straight games at South Carolina, this was an opportunity to show that they could break that streak and see what they were legitimately. And what we saw was a game that wasn't up to snuff from either team. South Carolina wins the game 66-56 to improve to 19-1. LSU falls 20-1 on the season. But this is a game of this game really was more about what you don't want to see than what you want to see. And I'll talk about that. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant, powered by Coming on the podcast, where we talk facts over feelings. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. LSU, 56 points. 56 points. This is the worst game LSU's played all year. And I have seen all kinds of comments where people say, oh, this is their soft ass schedule that they played to get to 21. And I would say I disagree. They have a 17-point win over NC State. They have a win over at Tennessee. They've won games. They're second in the SEC. They were 6-0 going into this game in conference. Now, if you want to come and say that they have played a weaker schedule than South Carolina, by all means, I'm not going to disagree with you. But that's not why LSU lost this game. And that's not why this game looked bad. This game looked bad because we got an infestation of the missed layup syndrome that continues to plague women's basketball. That's what we got. And I will also tell you this isn't there. And because despite the fact that LSU is completely undersized, their main players, Anisha Morrow, she's 6'1". She plays big for this team. Flau'Jae Johson's 5'10". Last year, Poe was 5'11". Michaela Williams is 6 foot tall. All their big time players are guards or the size of guards. They're not bigs. And actually, LSU has since followed that South Carolina loss with a win against Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, that was a home game for LSU. So they got back on the horse and they won the game. And they played like trash in that game too, honestly. So that's back-to-back trash performances by LSU. However, when you look at their lineup, so that makes LSU's now 21-1 actually. Their starting lineup, 5'6", 5'10", 6 foot, 6'1", and 6'2". And yet they out-rebounded South Carolina 51-39. They had 28 offensive rebounds. But they shot 29.9% from the field and 21.4% from three at 3 of 14. South Carolina did have 11 block shots, and that goes to the size difference because South Carolina started lineup at the same time, 6'2", 6'3", 6 foot. And that's others are guard or 5'9". But they have bigger players on this team. And off the bench, 6'3". But it's really a matter of the fact that LSU missed a lot of easy buckets around the rim. This game was a winnable game for LSU, but they couldn't make a layup. Like, they just couldn't make a layup. All these offensive rebounds were for naught because they couldn't put the ball in the hole. If you want to look at the reality, Anisha Morrow, Michaela Williams, Flau'Jae Johson combined and go 17 of 54. That's atrocious. I mean, Flau'Jae Johson picked the wrong day to have a really bad game. Anisha Morrow picked like all three of them had a really bad game. If you could have just gotten one of them to be good, you're probably looking at a different result because South Carolina did not play great. They shot 37.1%, 15.4% from three, 2 of 13. But they got to the line 26 times. Game was a 10-point game, and South Carolina outscored LSU by 11 at the free throw line. Foul counts were 19-12. But what you saw in this game was not good basketball. MiLaysia Fulwiley, who's supposedly South Carolina's best player, she really isn't. Otherwise, I can't imagine that Dawn Staley would not be starting her. 2 of 11 in 15 minutes, 8 points. Joyce Edwards came off the bench and gave them some good minutes with 14, 5 of 11. And they had a lot of block shots. They did block shots, which did, which did make a huge difference around the. But I've been seeing all these different comments from people that I just thought were rather hilarious. I mean, I saw one person post, "I want to see this South Carolina team play UCLA." I'm like, and I responded, "This is someone that's notoriously against Caitlin Clark, that Natalie ESQ lady who has had controversy before." And I responded to that silly ass message because I'm just convinced that people don't watch basketball or don't remember or they have selective memory on things. And when if you actually look and compare the two games that they played, UCLA and LSU, the difference in these two games was that UCLA shot over 47% and LSU shot 29%. Because South Carolina was the exact same team in both games. South Carolina, you want to keep it a buck? South Carolina shot 6.4% against UCLA. In this game, they shot 37.1. Okay? They actually had one more made field goal against South Carolina, but they didn't go to the free throw line 26 times. That's the difference in this game. They actually hit 8 threes. This game, they hit 2 threes. So they shot 67% from three. They shot well above average from three because their average three is like 34%. They shot well above average from three, but they got 26 free throws, 18 made free throws. You're not going to sit here and tell me that you want to see, if this is the team that you want to see play UCLA, guess what? UCLA will drop kick their ass again. It's just that simple. They will drop kick their ass again. It will be a wipeout again. And it doesn't matter where they play, they will get their ass kicked again. So when you make statements like, "Oh, I want to see this team," are you really comparing the LSU team to the UCLA team? The LSU that has no one over 6'2" on their roster or who plays? And you want to compare it to UCLA, who has 6'7" Lauren Betts, who commands all kinds of attention? And then has a 6'4" senior Angela Dugalic, who's next to her on the front line, and Tamia Gardner, who's 6'3" on the front line. This is a massive front line. Massive. Yeah, like, you can't be serious. Nah, man. You want that? You want to see that game again? And you want to see that the same if you want this USC that played against LSU to play UCLA, they will get smashed again. But this game was really about just missing easy buckets. And if you want to be honest about it, people say, "Oh, well, USC missed, South Carolina missed easy buckets too." Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. No question about it. They absolutely did. But come on now. Now, clearly LSU cannot play like this and expect to win. LSU shot 29%. LSU typically shoots over 48% from the field. They played a horrendous game. But don't tell me that it's because of their schedule. I get it. South Carolina's played a tough schedule. They've played the toughest schedule probably in the country. You want to do a game comparison. They both played NC State, and both teams beat NC State. And South Carolina beat NC State by 14, and LSU beat NC State by 17. So that's a common opponent. USC has not played Tennessee yet. They have played Texas. They do have a win over Bama, Oklahoma. They beat one by 41. God, dog. They do have that big one over TCU. They beat Duke. The Iowa State. They have some huge wins. They have some dominant wins. But don't sit here and tell me the schedule was the reason. The missed layups were what happened in this game. And do I want to see? We got, Flau'Jae disappeared, Fulwiley disappeared, Morrow disappeared. Virtually everybody on the floor disappeared except for Joyce Edwards, who played pretty well. She's a freshman. She played well. But this was a winnable game for LSU. Like, it wasn't the 10-point number is not what it really was. It was a nip and tuck game down the stretch. I think the game got to within like 4 or 5 in the fourth. Let me just confirm. This game got to it got to 7. My apologies. It got to 7. And then you have more missed layups. Like, like I said, it was a missed layup fest. It was the wrong day for all 3 big name players for LSU. Look, it was a 3-point game at halftime. 5-point game. It ended up being a 10-point game going to the fourth quarter. But again, like I said, a lot of missed layups. This was a missed layup fest. And obviously, if that's what you're going to see, that's not appealing basketball. Not fun to watch. And USC earned the win. They earned the win. They did what they got. They did what they had to do. But don't sit here and tell me that SC is going to walk in and play South Carolina like this again, and it's not going to be the exact same result. Like, that's just ridiculous. But anyhow, what did you think of that game? Did you see the game? What were your thoughts? Feedback? Love to hear what your comments are. Leave a comment. Like the video, subscribe, hit that bell. I appreciate y'all. Come on now.